can we safely say the Queen of Cocodona?
Yeah, I'm totally in for it. Yeah, that's a cool nickname.
I think it's well earned. You have a second finish here, first place finish here at the Cocodona race. Now, last year was very different from this year, so I kind of really want to hear what happened this year and kind of the drastic difference that you experienced out there.
Yeah, so last year my biggest regret was my attitude finishing. I had a really rough Eldon. I was pretty good for most of the race, but Eldon just absolutely destroyed me. And I remember my pacer kept telling me there was only like a mile left. For
they lied.
They lied. And I just was like, where's the top of the climb? And he was like, oh, it's around the switchback. And he was also lying. And so by the time like I got to the finish line, I was just like angry and like, yeah. And I finished pretty early in the morning last year. And so there wasn't a lot of like, nobody was really there, which is fine because I don't care. But this year, I finished at, I think 8:00 or something. And so there was just like a billion people there, and my attitude was way better. I did have it was a little rough at the end or like the single track going into town. That was a little hard still, but yeah, I don't really know what went differently. I just
other than the rain,
the
temperature.
Oh, actually, yeah,
all of the weather.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually thought the weather helped me quite a bit because I moved to Colorado, and so that basically is our weather for the last 5 months. That's been our weather.
Even now, it's still happening.
So I was like, hail, I can do this. Yeah. So but yeah, I don't know. My only real goal for this race was just finish a lot happier, so I'm glad that goal was hit.
Yeah, well, I can attest because I don't know if you remember this, but I was the one that ran you in with the backpack and the gimbal so that we could all capture this finish. And I will say that there were so many cars like honking their horn and cheering you on. The hospital staff was sitting like out along the curb cheering for you. I think that last year maybe you made a name for yourself and people were really excited to see what you were able to put together this year. And it showed. The chat was going crazy for you. I think that it was a very exciting race to watch. So, yeah, very different experiences from what it sounds like.
It was different. I think I have had enough time to maybe figure out what I did that made it that way. But it was definitely a different experience this year.
One notable thing that we talked about was that last year was full of a lot of puking. Yeah. This year,
no
very
puking.
Proud to say none.
No puking.
That's a win right there.
Was there a change in the nutrition plan or just?
Yes. So another big thing. So I had two things that I thought could maximize my efficiency this year, and it was not wasting time at aid stations and figuring out my nutrition strategy so that I didn't like bonk or whatever. I tend to kind of critically underfuel.
Many such cases.
Yeah. Like, I've actually done, I had food poisoning at the start of a 100-miler, and I just did not eat the whole time. So I underfuel. I can do it. And I do think last year that led me to have, like, I would not fuel, and then I would boomerang in the opposite direction, and that would just, like, make me ill. But, yeah, so I have been working with with Precision a little bit, kind of experimenting with some of their products. And I don't know, kind of refining like what foods are really safe all the time. So like mashed potatoes,
beige foods.
Beige,
and I'm really curious
color.
As to what beige foods in particular.
So this year, the like biggest thing I ate was mashed potatoes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did a race called Badger Mountain a couple months ago, and mashed potatoes was like the thing. And so my partner was on my crew this year for Cocodona, and he was like, all right, we're doing mashed potatoes. Like, it worked, let's just stick with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a lot of mashed potatoes, a lot of pretzels.
Okay.
Particularly the goldfish pretzels.
Oh,
they're like the correct size, and they tend to have a lot of salt.
That is good. Yeah.
So those, I had a lot of cashews.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm into dry apparently foods, but yeah, beige was definitely the color that dictated a lot of my palate. And I actually, I did have late in the race, a risky move, but it paid off, was 2 burritos from Taco Bell.
Oh.
Yeah.
What kind of burritos are you talking about?
I'm vegetarian, so bean, onion, cheese, and hot sauce.
That's that's actually my favorite burrito from Taco Bell.
Yeah.
So, although sans onions, not a crunchy onion kind of guy.
It was kind of nice to have crunch that wasn't just like cracker.
Kind of break things up.
I mean,
it made it feel fresher.
Yeah.
After what you've talked about with like mashed potatoes and pretzels, I could imagine like a little fresh, crisp something is probably pretty nice.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. So my parents showed up to this race and they brought Taco Bell and I was like, MVP, let's go.
That is amazing. Awesome. So speaking of your crew, you had a really good crew out there. Let's give them a moment to shine. Like, how did your crew play into like your mental strategy in terms of like, did they keep you on the rails or were they just kind of like reacting to how you came into the aid stations?
I don't think rails ever really were off much. Maybe they would have a different answer. But I don't know. I felt like they did everything perfectly. I mean, they've all run with me a bunch. Evan was one of my crew members last year, and then Jake was one of my crew members last year. So 2 of my 4 had done this race with me already. And so I'm sure that was massively helpful. And then every one of them has run a ton with me. Yeah. And I kind of selected, it was a goofy selection process, but I selected them all for like, they all bring a lot of different personality, I think. Because Kevin is just very like collected and cool, and Evan is very like organized. Jake is, I don't know how to describe Jake. He's just like,
he's that guy.
Well, he's very hype. He's like very like, let's go, like all the time.
Nice sometimes. Yeah.
And then Gus is probably who I've, I guess, run with the least, but I've just heard that he's fantastic pacer.
I've also heard that, yeah.
And I mean, can confirm, like, he is a fantastic pacer. Like, we didn't have to, he was like, how far, do you want to run in front? Like, how far in front of you should I run? Like, it's like 6 yards.
Whatever you need,
like,
down to the
centimeter. It was, like, I mean, it was like all these questions that I didn't even know I had opinions on.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is perfect.
I'm learning something about myself.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gus Gibbs for sure. He's an absolute stud of a human being.
Has he paced you in something?
He's never paced me. Him and I have run together a handful of times, and we know each other pretty well just from being in the circuit. But like Gus is just a genuine human, amazing human being. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I was curious to see the difference because I had an awesome crew last year too, and we had a ton of fun. So I was curious to see how different people would bring like a different dynamic. And I was a little nervous because last year was so much fun. I was like, oh, what if they all hate each other and it's my fault? But it seems like they all had a good time.
We definitely know they had a good time because Tara and Hillary were able to interview them after you would leave. They would just give them the mic and be like, go for it. And they provided some of the best commentary of the entire week. They're just a really fun, cool group of guys to support you. They were loving the fact that you were like just out there crushing it and representing the women's field super well.
Yeah.
And they all felt weird. Like we feel like we're mansplaining her race for her and like we shouldn't.
I know. I thought I initially really wanted to have a female on my team because last year I had a woman named Chalice who was critical in my success during this race. And so I was a little nervous having an all male crew, but I actually think it's kind of funny now.
They're part of the girlies now, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. You had a really awesome crew out there. It seemed like everything flowed really well. It seemed like when we would see you in the aid stations, it was like it was not like super like Ryan Sands would come in and it was like a military process.
That was
like,
a NASCAR pit stop for
sure. It was like it was ordered. There was like everyone had a job to do.
Yeah.
And your crew, like you came in and they all just kind of like reacted to whatever happened and they all did it flawlessly in their own unique way. So I think that's the key. Like, pick a little bit of everything and just see how it melds together.
Yeah. I think in my brain, I actually wanted, before I did this race, I did want more of a NASCAR pit stop, but I'm glad that I didn't get that because I think there's so much benefit to like hanging out with your crew. I would leave every single aid station that had crew access and I would run faster for like the next probably like 5 miles. I mean, I would guess by probably at least a couple like 30 seconds per mile faster because it's just like it's so uplifting to get to see people who like I don't know are there to everybody's there to support you, but like these are my people here to support me, and so it was
that
so
mental boost must be amazing.
It was nice. So I'm glad I didn't get the NASCAR pit stop. I don't want that.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. I like to hang.
I think, giving up a few seconds in the aid station to save minutes at the end of the day is like a really valuable thing that most people don't take into account. Like you get rushed in and out of there, and it's like, actually, if you just chill for a second, you're probably going to have a better, faster day.
Yeah, and I don't remember I think my fastest aid station turnaround that had my crew at access to was Crown King, and I felt like I was there forever, but they said I was, I think, the second fastest in and out. But I don't know. So
time moves differently.
Time is not real.
Things, I think.
Yeah, I don't
know what day it is. I'm pretty sure you probably don't either.
I still think it might be Monday.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's Tuesday. I did sleep.
I couldn't tell you what day it is.
The days all blend together.
It's Cocodona week.
It's Cocodona
There are no days.
That is the awesome thing about Cocodona is you can run a race on Tuesday. You can start your race on Monday. You can run another race that started yesterday. A race starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a week-long festival.
And I think that's so cool. I'm glad that we have this.
I think that was Jamil's like whole purpose in doing this is like first year was Cocodona, and then every year he adds a little something extra to it to be like, how can we get everybody in Heritage Square by the finish of the race?
Well, it caters to all levels. Like everybody gets a little piece of something. Like you can do a 50K plus, or you can do this insane thing that takes you 3 days to finish.
But yet we're all celebrating our victories just the same at the end.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes it beautiful and makes it fun, like as part of the sport, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to the chat, let's get them involved a little bit. What questions would you like to throw out to Rachel here? And in the meantime, while we find and field a couple of those, I kind of want to know, like you have had the hot year, you've had the cold year. What brings you back to Cocodona? Why did you decide you wanted to do it again? And is there going to be a third? Do we three?
We got some questions if your retirement is real or not already.
No, I'm not retiring from the sport. So what everybody is asking me, what brings me back? I don't know the answer to that. I think I just had to come back. I don't know. There's very much like very much like a Cocodona Kool-Aid that you come here and you drink it and you're like, well, yeah, that's just what I'm doing in May. Like the first week of May is just Cocodona now. I'd been on the periphery of the race the first couple years that it was happening. And then in 2023, I remember thinking that I really wanted to sign up for it and just like not being able to afford it and making excuses why I didn't do it. And I watched the race really closely unfold in 2023, and I was just like, all right, next year I have to go. And so I don't know. Yeah, I would like to come back next year. I don't think I'm going to race because my crew chief wants to run.
Oh,
and so I really want to help him.
That's a good pay it back.
Yeah.
That's a really good pay it back.
Yeah, because he's been on my crew for 2 years in a row now. So it's like, all right, well, I know this course better than anybody else you're going to pick.
Mm-hmm. So I think you owe him. I think you owe him after 2 years.
Yeah,
there's a trade-off.
Plus, it would just be, oh my gosh, it's Jake, the raw guy. So I think it'll just be fun.
We'll see if that Stoke lasts. Past like Foxborough, because that's like really. So speaking of the new course, couple changes. Yeah. How'd you like the hangover section?
I loved it, but I was going through it, and my pacer and Gus and I were talking about how I was terrified someone was gonna like die on it because it's pretty.
We had some people who did it in the dark who were saying it was kind of scary.
So I think Gus and I on Monday were probably the last people to do it in the like waning daylight. I told Gus like as soon as we got to the part that was like really exposed, and it's like, okay, it looks like it's gonna be this way for a while. I told him I just want to be off this rock by night.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to try to do this at night with legs that don't work. But it was, I loved it though. I thought it was so cool. We had it in a little bit of rain and like spooky fog. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
I will say the live stream really benefited from the fog because I was like, you're never going to see Cocodona look like this again.
No.
Like it did suck because we had to bring the drones down a couple times because can't fly through the fog like that.
Yeah.
Like #safety. But it was definitely super beautiful. Like there's parts of me where like, I don't know if I want to run 250 miles, but I'd like to go run that section.
That's not what he said last night. Last night he said he's going to do
Let's go do it.
I was slightly delirious last night.
We'll do it
No,
next
it's
year.
a binding agreement. He's doing it next year.
Okay, well, we both heard that you're doing it next year.
I'll crew, I'll pace. Katie will come.
You can just hang out with Jake. I'll be on his crew.
There we go. Like, let's just
hands.
let him and I can
I've
just
been
run it
begging
together.
people to hold hands during the race all day.
I'm sure there has been some hand holding out there.
Yeah. And the bottom part of that trail too is I think it's a single track next, and then there's like a wash, and then there's a Jeep road on the other side. But the wash had all these waterfalls in it, When are you going to get to see waterfalls in Arizona?
That is
like
fair.
there were waterfalls. It was wild. So I mean, yeah, that Hangover Trail, even though it was potentially pretty scary for runners at night, especially if you're like having a hard time.
Yeah.
Cool addition, but very slow going.
Yeah, not the fastest section of the course. And you got to also change things up doing Eldon in a different way. That descent, I imagine. What's funny, so on my end, I'm looking at all the splits and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to get people in places to make sure that we're there at the finish line in time, because it was just, y'all were running way too fast. I would have loved for you to slow down.
Ruined Zach's whole plan.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Spent a lot of time building this out, and I even cushioned it by like 2 hours, and Dan and everyone else decided to break that. So, but that was awesome. Love seeing it. I don't ever want to wish you to run slower, but
yeah.
But it was like, I noticed that once everyone hit Eldon and they had that descent, it almost like completely nullified that whole gain in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a pretty slow going section.
I really don't feel like the gradual ascent was beneficial from a time perspective. Mm-hmm. I think the other way is much faster. Because like when it's that late in a 200+ mile race, like what uphills are you really running?
Yeah.
None of them. And instead of having a 2-mile uphill you're not running, now you have an 11-mile uphill you're not running. And so that's just like a lot more time. So
we asked Jeff Browning about that, and we were like, well, we've heard it's like runnable, and he's like,
it's runnable like, if it's like your only run you're doing.
Yeah, he's like, the start of your run.
Right. Yeah.
He laughed and he was like, yeah, I ran it the other day, but not with 200 miles on my legs.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, anything that was maybe potentially runnable, I did try to run it. Mm-hmm. And I was able to do that. But I mean, yeah, it looks like a super fun run if that's your 24-mile run for the day.
Yeah.
But I still think even if I were doing like that as my daily run, I'd go up Eldon, like the short, steep, stupid, and then just like fly down the backside.
That's way more fun.
Yeah, it is a awesome grade, but not when you are 240 miles into a race.
Hopefully, I'm not sure if the course will stay this way for forever. We might get that down.
I need more people to suffer. This is the new course.
You're like, no, I did this.
Now that you got to do it,
this is
everyone else has to.
256 miles now. It's not the Cocodona 250. No.
Oh, man. Well, people have been asking in the chat, the number one question that I have seen, and I was actually curious myself, is like, do you always run like this stoked and happy and just like smiling all the time? You did mention last year it was not the case.
Well, I was happy, I think, for most of the time last year, just not the end. I like running, so I tend to...
What a concept.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. During a race, I mean, it's such a cool thing to even be able to like do it. So I'm usually pretty happy to be out there. It's not too hard to be happy when you're doing something that you paid money to do. So yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, maybe you'd have to ask other people if I'm happy, but I try to be happy during most of my races.
You seem pretty dang happy, and I think that was like a common conception here is everyone's like, she's just like running on pure stoke right now. And like, it was fun getting the crew interviews because they were just all laughing and having a good time. And there was like never a point where like, yeah, she's really suffering right now. Like, just give her some space. It was like, she looks great. We don't know what else to say. Like, same as last time. She's just eating and moving. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you're not running, what do you like? Let's get the people to know you a little bit. What do you do?
Like for jobs?
For work.
I'm a physical therapist. Yeah.
Shout out to the PT.
Yeah, PT world. Yeah, my PT is actually staying at the house right like behind us. So got to hang out with her for a little bit too.
Right.
Like
so
today.
yeah, local Coloridian as well. From Golden area. Can't say the words right now. The Golden area.
The Golden era, back in the 50s.
Golden era. That was not so golden, but yeah, you've got Sammy and Gabe, her partner over here.
Golden Endurance.
Golden Endurance. Shout out to those guys. Yeah, they were out here. Were they crewing you at all, or did you just like pop in and say hi?
So I had 5 people on my crew last year. This year I only had 4. So originally I was like, oh God, I need a 5th person. Oh my God. And like, I wanted a chick. And so I was like, Sammy, you're the one. And then I was actually going through, cause I didn't do very much like research on this. I was like, I've done it before. It's fine. And so when I was going to like meet out the sections, I was like, oh shoot, there's like 32 miles here that don't have pacers. So I don't like, I kind of didn't think I needed that 5th person. But I had her on standby just in case. And then she got in with a person doing the 125. So it's like, nah, all right, well, we're all going, so cool.
Yeah, did you get a chance to see him at all on the course yesterday? Or
Sammy?
Yeah, did you see him
I did.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was at Dead Horse. So
okay, awesome.
Yeah. I had a knee injury. I did it across the years. I did the 48 hour. And I don't know. I've never had a major injury. And so after across the years, I had this like hideous lateral knee problem. And so the first couple months of the year, I was like, I'm gonna be terrible at Cocodona, and I tried to deal with it on my own because again, I'm a PT, so I should maybe know how to fix
worst
this.
patients. We make the worst patients.
Yeah, horrible. But I did do the stuff. I tried to do my own stuff, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I didn't feel like I was getting places fast enough, and so I just Googled like runners PT Colorado, like will travel, because most of the time when you're going to the doctor and you're like, yeah, I have knee pain when I run 250 miles. They're like, well, then don't do that. Yeah. And I didn't want the answer to be stop running. And so I Googled her and I found her, and my partner Kevin actually like knew of them. And so he was like, oh yeah, go see her. And so I did. And I mean, within like a session, I was feeling better. Yeah. And I didn't have any problems. I was so stoked. Didn't have any like knee problems or any problems really. Oh, yeah. On the race.
Speaking of across the years, I have a question because I love fixed time events.
They're fun.
My first ultra was actually the Endless Mile in Alabama. I think the year after you did it. I did the 12-hour. Yeah. I used to run with Butts. So
okay. Oh, I'm like a founding member.
Yeah.
Let's
I
go.
know Pete just moved out to Colorado pretty recently.
Yeah, he's watching my cats right now.
Oh, yeah. He was in the chat for a while. But I wanted to get your opinion on kind of the differences and similarities between the like short loop fixed time races versus something like this, like training wise, racing wise, just the crossover there.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Meg Eckbert.
Yes, with the 603 miles in the 6th day. Yeah, almost broke the American men's record.
Yeah, she was 3 miles short.
It was incredible.
Wild. Yeah, women are awesome.
I want to see her do something like this. I think that could be really cool.
I think so too. So I do, onto your question, I love fixed time events because I think they give you a lot of confidence going into something like this. So last year, before I did Cocodona, I did across the years also. And I just wanted to get 200 miles so that I knew that numerically I could do it.
Yeah.
And I know that it's obviously like it's a flat loop, so it's not the same. But I mean, that was a huge confidence boost. And I think maybe these races are like a combination of two things, confidence and like training.
Yeah.
So
stubbornness, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little
bit. It's a combination of a lot of things. But the two big things, in my opinion, are like just the confidence knowing that you can potentially do it because you have to believe in yourself first. So yeah, I use fixed time. I love fixed time races. I use them a lot to like try out new things or like test my sleep strategies.
Yeah, there's a lot less risk involved when you're only going a mile away from 8 at a time.
And I think they're like sneaky hard too because you can
so
stop.
Easy to DNF a race like that.
Well, you
there's
can't
no finish
DNF.
Line. Yeah, because you're like, I can just be done.
Yeah,
like, I don't have to keep pushing.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I think practicing some mental strategies there is pretty fun too. So yeah, I don't want to. I don't know. I guess discredit the fixed time event by calling them like practice runs, but it's a supported practice run.
Yeah.
So and they're super social too, because I mean.
You're constantly running with people that you would never be running with in a normal race.
Exactly. And like, if you're in 100-mile race, I mean, you might not see somebody forever. I mean, during this race, I mean, I was alone unless I had a pacer with me, I was alone.
Yeah.
And I could have probably like yelled and nobody would have heard me. So, so it's nice to be able to like be surrounded by people, and everybody's so stoked at fixed time races. You're just like fist bumping.
It's a very special community.
It's cool.
It kind of reminds me, I feel like, of kind of the community in the 200 milers too.
Yeah.
Where it's this even smaller niche inside of a niche sport, so that everyone kind of gets very close.
Yeah, it's all multi-day. It's all hard stuff. So, so yeah, there are some fixed time races out there. I remember I did one in Dahlonega, Georgia, and it was like I think it was a kilometer loop that had
was
like
it Merrill's
300
Mile, or is
feet
that
of
a different
gain.
one?
Merrill's Mile is different. I don't remember what this one was called, but it was pretty hilly for that. I mean, I think I did maybe like 50 something miles, and I had like 16K of
solid.
It was so. I mean, you can practice whatever you want during these, but yeah, I don't. As far as like the altitude training goes, and like the ability to do vertical and descents, not a whole lot of carryover there with fixed time, but I think if you're just trying to practice different strategies or build up your confidence, I think they're super beneficial. for sure.
Yeah. We did also have a lot of questions in the chat, like what your training looks like mileage wise and just like in general.
Yeah. Somebody actually just asked me what my training block looked, or how long my training block for this was. And I said 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that it's measured in months for something like this. I do actually think that it's measured in years. But I have been doing, I would say, 70 miles a week since probably 2017. I used to be really like anal retentive about it, and like if I didn't get 70 miles a week, I'd be like, I'm a worthless runner and I'm gonna suck at everything. So I'm a little bit more relaxed now. But yeah, I for this training block, it was it was a little bit more challenging because I'm working on a travel PT contract, and so my days are really busy, and I work 4 of them in a row. So I work Monday through Thursday from basically 6:30 to 6:30. So I did do some accidental speed work during my lunch runs because I had exactly 53 minutes that I could spend running, and so I would, I wanted to optimize that time, so I'd run as fast as I could in my little Hoka shoes. Run. Yeah, I was like, let's go, and I really think that paid off this year. I hesitate to call that speed work, but I've never tried to run fast ever. I hate running fast. But it did make running later in the race, I think, maybe easier. Yeah. And running quickly in the beginning, I think it made it easier too.
It's almost like training works. I'm not sold.
It is, yeah.
It does kind of sound like it works.
But yeah, so a lot of the time I would do, and I also my schedule at my last permanent position was awesome for training for ultras, because I would work Monday, I was off Tuesday, and then I'd work like a full day Wednesday, full day Thursday, and then a half day Friday. So I'd have like a couple days where I could just take the day off and not care and just work. And then I'd have all my other days where I could be like, all right, I get to run today. And I would do like 18 to 20 miles. And then on the weekends, I'd do whatever I felt like. But yeah, so this year I wasn't really that confident in my training, which is funny to look back on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really like days off. I'm a big fan of days off. I didn't take very many this time. I think, I don't understand streakers, the run streak people. But I did have my longest run streak ever of 15 whole days.
Wow.
Yeah, this training cycle.
Your fellow champion did continue
exact
his
opposite.
Run streak today.
He's been on run streaks since like 2019, I think he
2019. He went out for a mile today at Buffalo Park.
Which I had made a joke earlier in the streams that he was a run streaker, and then it turned out he actually was. And I was like,
oh my God, that makes me want to barf. I did walk here. And I joked to Kevin. I was like, oh, it's only a mile away. Like, should we just run there? Like, wouldn't that be funny? But I'm like wearing, like, these are my shoes. They're Crocs. Or Walmart Crocs.
But they strap. You could probably run a mile.
You got sport mode.
We have a friend who actually had recently ran the New York City Marathon in Crocs and set a world record.
Dude, this kid ran Cascade Crest the year I ran it in Crocs the whole time.
Jail.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Straight to jail. Yeah, so.
We did have questions about what shoes you wore, too.
Okay.
And whether Topo is going to call you up.
I'll let everybody know. Yeah, so I did wear Topos because I love them. I tried, and this is nothing against Hoka, I tried wearing a pair of Tecton 3s. And I just think the gator is too small. Like, I can't put them on. It took me
shaped ankles, it's not for you,
I
think.
God. And, like, my feet were probably a little bit, like, swollen, too.
No.
But, yeah, so I'm, like, shoving my foot. Because I wanted that shoe particularly for the section in Walnut Canyon where I was by myself, and I just wanted it to go by quickly. So that I could have a pacer again. And I thought maybe like the change in cushion would be really nice, because I've done I do most of my lunch runs, the fast ones, in those Hokas. And I think they work. Like I ran fast.
It could also just be you.
I could be fast.
It's not necessarily you could just be fast.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's the shoes. So
it's shoe doping. So yeah, it's just the shoes.
Yeah. Super shoes are bust. But yeah. So I tried them, and then I think I texted my crew like less than a mile out. I was like, so I hate these shoes.
Oh no.
And I'm gonna need to change them like immediately when I get done with the section.
You didn't consider going back?
I did consider it, but I have a rule it's a fixed time race rule actually, but it's no going backwards. But I did break that a couple times because I saw cool rocks on the trail, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go back and get that
I
rock.
did actually see some of the chat saying that you were stopping to pick up rocks on the trail, and I was like, I can't tell if they're joking or
No,
not.
I carried rocks in my
done
pack.
that.
Yeah. I picked one up before Crown King, and I meant to, because they're heavy sometimes, and I meant to give it to someone on my crew so that I didn't have to carry it, but I forgot, and so I carried it all the way to Whiskey Row. I just gave this rock a tour of like
Your
the
crew is
southern
going through your
aspect.
bag and they're pulling out rocks.
They
So
made
I
the bag
switched.
heavier.
Yeah, I switched packs, and they were, and I think Jake maybe he was on my team last year, and I had a lot of rocks last year.
She's like, oh shit,
And-
guys, she's already delirious.
Yeah, and like Jake was like, "You're not gonna believe this," and like pulls out
more
a rock
rocks.
from my pack.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah.
Your pack isn't heavy enough having to carry so much shit for 250 miles. You do have to add more rocks.
Yeah.
The race isn't hard enough.
Yeah. So, whatever. Slow down, pick up rocks. But the rocks are really cool. There are some great rocks in this area. I went and I did Whiskey Basin too, and Whiskey Basin has some sick.
you
The
pick up
Granite
some rocks
Dells
there
area
during that race?
I did. Well, I didn't pick up rocks during the race, but we did a run in the Dells, and I picked up a couple rocks.
This is not making anyone you beat feel good. The fact that you're like
Just
stopping to
carrying
pick up
rocks.
rocks mid-race
well,
and
everybody
still winning.
stops to do different stuff. I just prioritize rocks.
Yeah.
I don't know when I became this way.
So I got to ask, that we can dissect that one in a much longer segment. I think
That's
that's
a therapy
one-on-one
session.
conversation.
Yeah, I'll pay for that one.
But no, I think that like one last question that I would have is why. I mean, you've done Cocodona 250 twice. You've seen both variations of the course. You've seen all sorts of different kind of weather. Why should someone come and do Cocodona and experience what you've experienced? The soul search, if it will.
Gosh, I think you can learn a lot about who you are if you do hard stuff. I think it's really cool too to like whether or not you succeed in your goal. It's cool to see what kind of person comes out on the other side. So yeah, whether it's like so my brother and his girlfriend are not well. They walk. Actually, my brother's girlfriend is like a really avid like walker. And yeah, they were like joking about signing up for 5Ks and stuff after like watching this happen. So, I mean, everybody has like things that they think are challenging, and whether it's like, unfortunately, I'm now at the point where 250 miles is a challenge and 100 milers
6-day win.
aren't necessary. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. Where do we go from? I need to take up a different sport. Because I don't want to keep going. But yeah, I don't know. I think when you get that raw and vulnerable, like who you are as a person really comes out. And sometimes last year who I was that came out wasn't the best version of myself. Like I didn't want to be that person. And you can change, and that was I think that is a big reason why I came back this year is I wanted to see if I had the strength to change who I was at the end of this race. And I did for the most part. So don't ask Jake if I changed, but yeah, I'm pleased with that amount of growth.
Yeah, it sounds like there's definitely like most people come and do this for the journey that they experience, and you're more like the journey inside. Like, yes, I'm looking at a beautiful area and this is a great course and amazing aid stations, all the above, but like it's the journey within for you that is the priority.
Yeah. Well, but this year I would say more so than last year, I really appreciated the tour of Arizona because last year I don't know, I guess I was experiencing it for the first time, and so I wasn't able to like comprehend where things were and like what order things were like. Oh, up next is going to be Sedona, and then
now
after
you can, like,
that's going to be
recognize things.
Yeah, and so it was kind of fun to like know what was coming and like get excited for it. Like I remember I was running with Evan, and it was like, oh my gosh, like over there, like we can see Sedona from here now. And
You're
Evan
giving your pacers a tour.
Yeah, it was I was excited about that because I love going on runs with my friends in places that I am passionate about and being like, this is my favorite rock.
Yeah.
Or like waterfall or lake or whatever. And so it was fun to play tour guide for this course this year. I was really excited about that. And so, yeah, Evan had a knee injury last year, and so he wasn't able to run. And so I was like, all right, well, then you get Sedona because, like, that's a cool section. And he made a really good point, or like an interesting point, while we were, whatever the section is right before you enter Sedona proper, that like long, windy, sandy bit. We could see the Sedona area, and then like 20 miles later, we were standing where we were looking.
Yeah.
And it was just like so cool, I think, to just we were just over there and now we're here and it's only been like 5 hours. So it's
Only.
for some people. So yeah, I don't know. It's cool. It's a cool race. I love getting to go through all the towns and like, I don't know if it was my timing was better and so more people were out. Cause I think I came through Prescott maybe at like midnight last year. And this time, I don't know what time it was. Maybe it was like 8.
Much earlier.
Yeah. And so there
more
were like
daylight,
people
maybe.
out to dinner and stuff and they were like wooing.
You guys were 4 hours under
Nice.
previous pace.
Yeah,
Zach's really
that's-
aware of how fast you were
Yeah,
going.
I
Not
watched the
healthy.
splits. I knew what they were.
Okay. I wasn't watching the splits. But yeah. And so, and you know, my finish time was, I think, a little bit more reasonable. And so, yeah, there was a lot more people out just like watching the race happen in their yards, you know, this year versus last year. So that was really cool. I'm happy that I was telling this to somebody who was asking me questions today, but like, I'm glad that Aravaipa has this good relationship with the community because a lot of the times, like, I don't know if the community like hates this race because they're like, dang tourists. But I mean, everybody that I spoke with was like stoked. They were like, oh my gosh, like somebody had said in Prescott that they'd never seen 2 women come to town in the daytime.
Yeah.
So I was like,
That's pretty cool.
Ah, that's so cool that you know that. Like
Yeah.
you're actually interested.
Like the
in-
people who aren't runners who don't know anything about the sport are like still somehow invested in this super niche event, and it's really cool.
It's cool. I think it's cool because I mean, who knows? The best ultra runner might not even be an ultra runner yet. Like they could just be some person living in Cottonwood that's like, I could sign up for this.
This seems cool.
This seems easy. So, so yeah.
I love it. Sounds like your journey through your second journey through Arizona has been wildly successful for you, and you not only got to experience an amazing area, an amazing place, but you went through this beautiful journey and transformation within that allowed you to be more of who you wanted to be at the finish. Claire, do you have any other questions before we wrap up?
I decided that we're going to do a Coco double where you run back to the start.
I
So
was
would you do
joking about that. I was joking. Yeah. No,
But
think
we
it'd
were
be
really
fun.
joking, or do we just need to like let it marinate for a minute until?
I think it could be fun.
I think you could just
It's
run to the
downhill.
Grand Canyon.
No, but
instead.
it's
Why do I
downhill,
want to
so it'd
see
be
what I
fine.
just saw?
So now we need to run
Different
to the
perspective.
Grand Canyon, like to the north side.
So you run
North kayak.
Cocodona, and then you do the rim to rim to rim.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Oh.
Although that's only actually how far away? How far would that be?
I mean, it's
Not long enough.
It's a decent distance out to the Grand Canyon. It's not that close.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Well, I was
Rim
joking.
Rim only gives you like 40 something miles.
Yeah,
And
I was
that's a drop in the
joking.
bucket.
I was halfway joking about doing the Eldon race or
You
the
should.
Flagstaff
Yeah, tomorrow?
thing. Yeah, I'm not going
You
to.
should
Well,
do
we're going
it.
to go to the Grand Canyon. My dad wants to go.
Oh,
You
fine.
should definitely do that.
You could do
Absolutely.
both.
I can't do
You could
both.
probably
I
finish
can't
it
do-
fast enough.
No, I cannot. No, I
Wait,
can't.
you're not going to go jog right today? You know, shake out a little beforehand?
Probably not. Yeah, Jake said if I see you on Strava, like at all, I'm gonna ground
Upload
you.
on private. It's
Yeah,
fine.
nobody can see.
He just
this.
catches a block and doesn't know.
Yeah, well, I don't run with a watch, so I still haven't even put anything.
yeah.
It looks like I did nothing this week,
Yeah,
according
I
to
mean,
Strava.
geez.
And
I
again,
gained.
if it's not on
a
Strava, it didn't happen.
I know.
So actually, I hate to break it to you that
We
none
have
of that
to
was
take
real.
away-
Well, I got like 100 followers, so they must know something I don't know. But
Oh, well, you had a fantastic race. You've inspired us all with your grit, your determination. You handled everything that this crazy year threw at you with an incredible just attitude, and it was infectious throughout the chat. We were all loving it here on our side. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Entrekin, our 2-time champion, the queen of Cocodona. Thank you so much for joining us this year. Go rest, go enjoy some ice cream, and enjoy the Grand Canyon tomorrow.
thanks.